Hey folks, I'm Mike. Do you hate ads? I hate ads. You know what I like? Patreon.com/Inkdependence. It keeps this blog ad-free. Hey folks, welcome to Inkdependence.com. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I have two things I want to accomplish in this video. Firstly, it's going to be a walk around of the Raleigh Pen Show, and I'm going to have it just play through at normal speed. I've recorded a bit over it, so I'll be pointing out some people and that kind of stuff. They'll be waving as I go by. I didn't actually tell anybody I was going to do it. I just kind of walked through with a camera. So here's the caveat. If you are prone to motion sickness from seeing cameras kind of go like this a little bit, maybe skip the next 4 minutes, because there's going to be a little bit of that, and sometimes I swing it, and so that might freak you out a little bit. I don't know. It's my first time doing it, and so I just kind of took a swing. So we'll see how it goes. But it is a walkthrough of the whole of the Raleigh Pen Show, down the hall and through the ballroom and up the aisles. I'm going to be pointing out some people that you will have heard about and may know, or that you will see at other shows, and you can then, say, hi, I saw you in a video, that kind of thing. The second part of this video, and you might want to skip ahead, like, I don't know, 5 minutes or so, to the Q&A section. I've got a bunch of questions from a YouTube commenter named Bieber Ninja, who wrote like 12 cool questions about pen shows. And so I figured instead of doing a whole pen show Q&A, I would put that Q&A on this Q&A, or on this walk around. So that ought to be fun, and we'll see how this video goes. It's a little bit of something new. If you like this format, let me know. I will try to do something like this for other pen shows that I go to, that kind of thing, to show you like some of what to expect. I know I was talking to a guy named Ralph, who was very cool, that I met in Chicago, and he said that the thing that helped him decide to come to a pen show was that he saw a couple of pen show walk-arounds. And so maybe this will be helpful for you. I hope it is. Let me know in the comments below. All right, that's it. Let's go to the other camera and do the walk-around. So what I wanted to do on this video is just to show you a walk around of the Raleigh Pen Show, because it's a lot of fun to go around a pen show. As we come in the door here, this is Mario Campos stuff from Toys in the Attic. You saw Ryan Krusak there, and there he is again, along with Dan from Franklin-Christoph. Here's Chef Brandon Lee with his chocolates. It's kind of a calm time at the Raleigh Pen Show right here. There's Terry Mayhort, who runs the show, taking tickets at the door. Moving over here, we have Federalist pens and paper, and you'll see this is all actually a long hallway that's outside the ballroom. We haven't even gotten inside the ballroom yet. There we go, dude's waving. There's Federalist Frank, a good guy. I just did a review for them over the Kappa pen. I don't know this fella. He was selling some really expensive-looking Mont Blancs and things. This is sort of the back door of the one ballroom. This is a small pen show, 70 or 80 vendors, I think. I got Deb Kinney there. Over here, there's Paul Arano, the Black Pen Society Grand Poobah. Diplomat pens with those folks there. That's Brian that we just passed. This guy's name is Dex. He has all kinds of awesome pens, but he's watching a table for somebody else right there. And just kind of moseying through right now. It's going to get a little bit more packed here in a sec. That's Carl. Those are Bexley pens right there, although Howard's not at the table. Main Street pens with our guy Ron Zorn, who's doing all kinds of awesome pen repair. There's Scott Franklin. Mandy, my wife Audrey, is over here in the background in the white shirt, slinging pens. And here's where it gets a little bit tight. It always gets tight here in front of the Franklin-Christoph table because you have all the pen testers, the ink testers, all kinds of testers. Let's see. There's Mandy again. There's Audrey. Jim's hard at work. There's Hirsch. Martin's pens. Martin does a lot of pen repair on site. He also sells a whole lot of pens. Bexley's, Vanishing Points, etc. This is the start of the Anderson pens aisle. Here is Brian Anderson giving a wave. There's Jimmy and Sandra. He sells a whole slew of crazy pens. I didn't give you a view of the table. I should have done that. There was Lisa Anderson briefly. Still at the Anderson pens table here on the left. This is the wall of ink, but it gets a little congested here as well. We have Mike and Linda Kennedy doing nib adjustments, doing grinds, doing repairs at the table. They also sell a bunch of stuff as well.
They're fun to play with, but I can't write with them.
Let's see, what else do we have going on here? Sort of swinging. If you get vertigo from this, sorry, I should have put a little warning at the beginning. There's Joe. That guy really loves tiny little pencils. He's a big dude, but he loves tiny, old Victorian era pencils. Here's Carolina Pen Co. You might recognize those folks. Over on this side, this is Bertram's Inkwell. That was Bertram very quickly. This is their wall of refills. This is Crazy Alan, and that was Crazy Alan. Here's Brad Dowdy, the pen addict himself, and his daughter, selling all kinds of cases and some really nice new paper products. The middle aisle here is mostly vintage stuff. Over here, we have all kinds of Esterbrook's and dip sets and inkwells. This is where Nick P should have been, selling pens and doing calligraphy, but he's off somewhere, probably teaching a class at this point. Coming back down the center aisle, that's Franklin-Christoph's table right there. I'm sort of trying to push my way through a little bit with my camera. I don't want to be too obtrusive because sometimes you're like, oh no, a camera, and then freak out. Like I said, this is pretty slow for the Raleigh Pen Show. But that's been a quick walk around of the Pen Show, and I hope we covered most of it, and maybe this will make you feel a little bit better about attending a Pen Show on your own. Okay, next up is going to switch over to questions and answers from some people on the, actually just one person, Bieber Ninja on YouTube. So stay tuned, let's switch cameras. Alright, so this is the part of the video where I'm going to answer a bunch of questions. Somebody named Bieber Ninja on YouTube submitted a bunch of questions, in fact 12 of them, regarding Pen Show stuff, and so I wanted to put them at the end of this Pen Show video because it feels like where they belong. So, number one, how do you keep your Pen Show purchases safe when you go out for the night? Is there anything better than the room safe? I'm not going to tell you where I put my precious Pen Show purchases because that seems ill-advised, but there's a lot of options, I suppose. The room safe, if there is one, that's great. If you're buying something like really expensive and exotic, you can probably put it in a hotel's safe. I bet it would be safe in the safe there. A lot of hotels will have their own safe. You could probably just hide it in your luggage, really. Most people who would be in a hotel room, doing some other stuff, maybe housekeeping or something like that, aren't going to really know what a pen is worth unless it's like just a big bar of gold or something. Nobody really knows outside the hobby the kind of prices that those things go for. Or you just keep them on you. A lot of times I just keep it on me because I don't mind wearing a backpack. And if I bought something really cool, I'm probably going to want to show it off to other people at the show. And so I keep it on me. That's the best way to do it. If you're going out, though, you can put it in your car, you can hide it somewhere. It's the best advice I can give you. I haven't had any problems with theft at shows, but it can happen for sure. Number two, do a lot of people approach you at shows and know you from YouTube? Not a lot, but definitely it happens. It happens at every show I've gone to, which is very, very cool. And I think it happens more as as my audience builds and that sort of thing, and people, I get more subs and that kind of thing. People notice. So if you're not subbed to this channel, go ahead and sub because I think that actually helps me or helps these videos like pop up in the rankings more, and so more people see them, and that's good for everybody, I think. Do they know me from YouTube? Yeah, a lot of people do. Not too many people know me from the blog, I suppose, although there were a few before I started YouTube who knew me from the blog because they they just see the name or something. On my name tag, I'll usually have @InkDependence or something underneath my actual name, Mike. But since I've been doing the YouTube, yeah, a lot of people, I've had people, while I was, say, helping out franklin-christoph or something at their tables, hear me say something and say, wait, I know that voice. And like, I hate ads. And I'm like, yeah, cool, me too. And so that's very awesome. I really enjoy that. Has anyone ever asked you for your autograph is number 3, and no. No, it's just never happened. I don't know why anybody would want my autograph. If you do, I'll sign a thing, I guess. What's the best time to approach you at a pen show to talk for a few minutes? Kind of any time I'm not like actively engaged in doing, like if I'm working for some company, if I'm working with Franklin-Christoph, helping them out, or if I'm helping out Anderson Pens, or something like that, then maybe not like right then. But if I'm behind the table and I'm not like actively having to do a bunch of things, then yeah, I'm perfectly happy to talk anytime. Just come up and introduce yourself and we'll have a chat. It'll be good times. I've met a lot of people like that and it's super fun. So kind of anytime I'm not like, I don't know, doing a thing I'm supposed to be doing for someone else. Let's see. Number 5, how do you decide which pen shows you go to each year? Well, before this year, I really only went to the Triangle Pen Show, which is we just had that when you saw my haul video probably, which is my home show. I'm near the Raleigh area-ish. and then DC because it's not terribly far and I have some family in the area. And then I've recently started going to Atlanta because it's a similar distance from me as DC is. And so it's not too far to drive, and it was really fun to do. This last year, though, I've been traveling more to more pin shows with Franklin-Christoph. So whenever Scott says, "Hey, Mike, can you do a show?" I'm probably going to say yes if I can work it into my teaching schedule and that kind of thing. But otherwise, I don't really buy plane tickets to go to shows. That's like, I don't know, $500-600 that I can't spend on pins, or I don't know, a lot of other stuff. Yeah, I don't really go to a lot of pin shows that are far from me unless I happen to be, working with somebody like FC. Let's see. Is there a pen you regret not buying at a pin show? There are usually a couple of those. This last pin show is mostly stuff in the auction that I could have pushed a little bit harder for and probably would have gotten. But one of the first pin shows I went to, I mean, it was years ago. I used to really want a Visconti Homo sapiens Bronze Age. And there was a guy who offered me, I want to say it was a Steel Age, so it wasn't exactly the one I wanted, but it was still cool. It was the lava one. It was before they came out with all the, the fancy special edition ones that aren't lava. And before I kind of got disillusioned with Visconti and their QC. But they offered me a sick price on it. Which was either like dealer price or below. I mean, it was a price you're not going to find very often. And at the time, I think I had just started my teaching job, or I don't know, something, but I didn't have a whole lot of disposable income. And the price, even though it was a good price, it was still kind of way out of my comfort level. And so I didn't do it. I've always regretted that a little bit, but I regret it less all the time. Other things I regret not getting. Not too many. I mean, when you get to go to a bunch of pin shows, and I went to probably 6 or 7 this last year, I mean, if you miss it at one pin show, you can get it at another. There are a couple of Franklin-Christoph pins that I've seen sell off the table while I was working at the show, and I was like, oh, I wish I could have gotten that one. But I'm not going to take it off the table while somebody else can buy it, and I'll see another one I'll like at another show, that kind of thing. Let's see. Any advice on what to say to a nibmeister to help them adjust your pen? Yeah, so there are a lot of things that a nibmeister can do to adjust your pen to your writing style, and some of the things you tell them will help more than others. So a lot of them will want you to like hold a pen and write with it. I know when I've worked with Mike Masayama, he's done stuff like that. If I've talked to like Mark Bacchus about stuff like that. And he's, tell him about writing angle. And if you like rotate your pen inward, I do that a little bit. If you like, I don't know how sharp you want it to be, that kind of thing. But a lot of it's kind of like, I don't know, trial and error, I think. Like, you can give them directives, but they know their business mostly. And they'll ask you a bunch of questions. But definitely talk to, tell them like what hand you write with. If you write with a left hand, that's very different from a right hand grind in a lot of cases. If you tend to rotate your pen, that's another thing. If you, I don't know, if you press really hard, maybe that matters. But those are the only things I can think of off the top of my head. Let's see. What is the etiquette when wanting to try out a pen at a show? Should you let the seller do all the handling, or is it okay to just go over and pick up a pen? The answer to this is it's always a good idea to ask. There are a lot of vendors who are totally fine with you picking up pens, especially modern vendors and that kind of stuff. It's fine for you to pick up pens and handle them. And if you say, hey, can I touch this one? They'll be like, yeah, sure, go nuts. But there are others who have pens that are maybe way more expensive, like it's jewel encrusted, or it's all covered in like gold filigree or something. Yeah, ask. It's a good idea. If they're old pens, if they're very old vintage pens or pencils or something, yeah, definitely a good idea to ask. If it's like just one person sitting behind their table, always say, hey, can I check out this pen? And not just because it's polite, but also it's a good opening line, because then usually that person's is going to be willing to tell you about that pen and tell you some of the history of it, or interesting features, or that kind of thing. And they'll probably tell you whether the cap unscrews or if it's a slip cap, that kind of stuff. Always, I think the safest thing to do is always try to use it as a twist cap. Don't ever just like start yanking on a pen. That's bad news. But politeness says, yeah, ask before you pick something up off of somebody's table. Can you bring your own pad of paper to test pens on, or should you use the sellers? Only use the sellers. Bring your own, I say. I always bring my own. Most sellers and vendors will have them. A lot of them have the Anderson Pens proper pads because they used to bring those to shows and stuff. I haven't really seen them at shows recently, but they used to bring them to shows and stuff, and so they were around and people were using them. But I bring my own. I'll bring like a small Morriman notebook, or I'll bring I don't know, some kind of pocket notebook, something like that. But whatever you like to write on, I'd say bring it. Nobody's going to object to you writing on it. Now, unless maybe you're writing on like stone paper or something weird, I wouldn't use stone paper with fountain pens very much, and I certainly wouldn't use it with other people's paper pens, because while it feels kind of smooth to the touch, it is made of limestone and like a polymer or plasticky stuff. And I think it could probably wear down pen nibs more quickly. It's not exactly like micro mesh or anything, but it's not that far off. So, don't bring that. But any other regular paper, I don't think anybody would be too upset about. No paper bags or anything like that. Let's see. Number 10. How do you go about testing the filling system of a vintage pen? The best way to test the filling system of a vintage pen is to use water, because if you use ink, it could be a mess, and if you use water, it's no big deal. If you mean at a show, most of the time you can ask the vendor if it's been restored, and they'll tell you. If it hasn't been restored, assume it's probably broken. If it has been restored, assume it works. From most vendors, they will. If you say, "Hey, you said that this was restored and it doesn't work," most of them will make good. Yeah, water. That's the way to go. Are there any unspoken rules at a pen show? Probably, but if I speak them, then the question loses its potency. I don't know, actually. One is, I don't know, here's like a little bit of pen show advice. And one of them is that pen shows are really about people and not necessarily about pens and ink. It's about people who are interested in pens and ink, but really, like, these are your people and you should go see them. And I know I've said that before, but definitely talk to people around you. Most people at a pen show are perfectly psyched to talk to other people who have the same interests they do, because they probably don't, have a workplace where everybody's psyched about pens, or a place where people understand having, 300 bottles of ink or whatever. But they do and you do, and so have a chat with them, say some stuff, make a friend, make an acquaintance, say, "Hey, that's a cool pen in your pocket, what is it, tell me about it." And people are usually psyched about that kind of thing. So one unwritten rule, I suppose, is meet people, like make yourself available to have conversations. I think that's one. Secondly is, don't be afraid to talk to people about vintage pens and stuff. If you're kind of new to the hobby and you don't really know vintage, heck, I don't know a whole heck of a lot about vintage. There are some vintage things I know some stuff about, but there's also a lot that I don't, because if you have 100 or 200 years of worth of stuff in history and stuff, I don't have it on tap, but a lot of people do, and they especially vendors and that sort of thing will be perfectly willing to talk to you about that. So there's a couple. Third, stay hydrated. Don't forget to bring like a bottle of water or something, because if you're walking around the show floor all day and you don't have any water, you don't have any food, you're going to be starving, you're going to be thirsty. It's going to be a bad time. So make sure that you are hydrated and fed. I tend to sometimes carry snacks, not messy snacks. Like, Snickers bars are a good one because they give you instant energy, but also they're bad because chocolate. And it gets on your fingers, and your fingers go on pens and then paper, and it messes things up. So I don't know, something like, I'll bring like, what do you call them? Like Nature Valley granola bars or something like that, just like a quick hit. Or Twizzlers are good because they are not a mess, so they are easy to transport, and they give you a little bit of energy. All right. What else? Last one, number 12. What's the one piece of advice you'd give to someone who hasn't attended a show? Well, I'm going to give two answers for the one piece of advice. The first one is, go to a show. If you have a pen show that is at all accessible to you, it is, within a couple, 3 hours drive, that kind of thing, and you have, free time, or you can get some free time, go to a show. Even if you don't want to buy anything, even if you say, look, I don't have the funds right now to buy stuff, who cares? Go to a show, handle some pens, meet some pen people, join the local pen club. You'll see pen clubs at all these pen shows, and you can join up if you're any at all local. You'll meet people who are also engaged in the same kind of hobby you are. You'll see some stuff in person that you'd only ever seen perhaps on video, like here, or online somewhere else. So number one is go to a pin show. The other piece of advice I would give to people about a pin show is the thing I kind of already touched on, which is meet people at pin shows. A lot of people, and I see this sort of thing online quite a lot, they say, oh yeah, I went to a pin show, I was there for like 2 hours and I left. I don't know why anybody cares about pin shows. I mean, if that's that person's choice and directive and aim, then cool, I guess. But the best thing about going to a pin show is like meeting people and talking to people about stuff. And so don't treat it as a shopping trip. Treat it as like a meet and greet. Treat it as a mixer where there also happens to be cool stuff. But that's my biggest piece of advice is go to a pin show and meet people. Don't just like look at some pins and be like, oh, well, I got this pin I wanted and I just left. I was there for like 30 minutes or something. It's not great. That's not a great pin show experience, I don't think. At least not for me, but I'll spend days at a pin show. So maybe I'm a bit biased, but I spend days at a pin show because there's always someone else to talk to. There's always something else to see. All right, so that's it. Let's wrap up this chunk of the video, and I will see y'all later on. Peace out. Don't forget to click subscribe, click like, click on those videos over on the left-hand side if you want to see other videos that are good for you. Click those buttons on the right-hand side to subscribe to the channel and to become a patron and help support this channel and the blog which engendered it, inkdependence.com. Peace out.